page. We're active on X. And my guest is Living Jamala. And, the funny thing is time is fast spent and we have a lot to cover because it's the EFCC versus 16 states. I wonder if it's still 16 because we have reports that about 3 states have decided to withdraw from, that suit. Now, I think they're asking the Supreme Court to interpret the law as it relates to the EFCC. As a matter of fact, they are deeming or describing some of the activities of the EFCC as illegal. My goodness. In Rivers State, we do have a perpetual injunction, right? I don't want to talk plenty. I'll just go straight into the conversation with my guest because we will have a commercial very shortly. All right. This one says, I think it was yesterday or the day before that the spokesperson of the EFCC did say that the EFCC is important to the future, the growth and the stability of Nigeria. Now, he had said that they had recovered over 200 billion and made about 3,000 convictions in 1 year under the leadership of Ola Olukoyede. All right. And of course, that's the chairman of the anti-graft agency who was appointed in October of 2023. Now, let's bring Living Jamala into the conversation, into the free living. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
We all described several times that corruption is deep into the fabrics of a society, right? In marketplace, how important is EFCC to Nigeria?
Canada, for every society to grow up, especially in the third world nations like that of Nigeria, where acts of corruption or the genes of corruption can be found in even the unborn.
Okay. I don't know what you mean by that, but I get what you're trying to say.
So you understand what I meant. All right. If you understand in that perspective, then the need for the establishment of an institution that will fight that threat, that actions from its citizens can never be overemphasized. So sometimes if you look at the EFCC, sometimes in 2002, the then president of Nigeria, Obasanjo, saw the need to bring to light that establishment to fight what according to him, then he said it was an endemic that has pervaded the nation Nigeria. And so for us to grow, we must look for a way to nip it on the bud.
Okay, now, to nip it in the bud, corruption, you say?
Yes.
But is that not what we have institutions of governance or of government for, like the police, for instance, like the judiciary, for instance, or even the DSS, gather intelligence. You could also gather financial intelligence. Why do we need, the EFCC, ICPC, to fight corruption?
If you look at the enormous responsibility placed on, let's use the police, then the prevalence of corrupt-related activities in Nigeria, you see that unless there is an established body to the fact that it will be centralized on just that sole purpose of fighting corruption, not putting its hand into several activities, concentrate on this particular agenda given to you. If you look at that, I think that was the essence for the establishment of a specialized institution for the fight against corruption. I think that prompted the establishment of EFCC and ICPC.
So, our constitution mirrors that of the United States, correct me if I'm wrong?
Some persons have given that explanation that it mirrors of the United States, but United States per se, if you look at the Constitution of the United States, it's a very, very, very small document, not to the extent that a Nigerian Constitution contained a number of sections, but it has a semblance.
Oh, it has a semblance.
A semblance of that, yes.
And in the United States, they do not have a specialized commission for. I mean, they've got CIA, they've got FBI, depending on whether it is international.
Canada, I will not tell you for a truth that my research has given me that information to be emphatic.
Okay.
And that the United States as a specialized body for the fight of corruption.
Okay.
Albeit, if you look at the institutions as let's look at the FBI, their functions, their roles, and their transparency in conducting activities cannot be linked to that of the Nigerian police. We cannot equate them together.
No, they are an intelligence, so you are equating them with the likes of the Secret Service.
Assuming that were to be so, we cannot even equate our state CIDs, state department to that of the FBI. And so I would not like us to make comparisons between two unequals.
All right.
Nigeria can never, in all ramifications, from the least department, the least agency, cannot be equated to that of the U.S. So linking Nigeria or equating Nigeria institution to that of the U.S. is like putting at par two unequals, but can never happen.
Okay, so we need a commission, in your opinion, in Nigeria to be able to fight, corruption and financial crime.
Canada, the talk going forward that whether we need or we do not need, the establishment is there. But for me, I agree that yes, we need. We're also canvassing for specialized courts. There has been this argument that we should have specialized courts to the extent of corrupt offenses or related offenses,
so they can be tried speedily.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly. Rather than this prolonged trial and some persons, the public may be losing confidence on that procedure because it takes years. Look at the case of Carlo, former governor of Abia State. How long it took for the trial to proceed up till it got to the Supreme Court because of some technical hitches, and it was set free. So if you are to have some specialized courts like the National Industrial Court that deals on employment, employer-employee relationship, that within some few months, those cases are decided because they hear it on a very fast way.
All right. I would have to go for a quick commercial, but when we do come back, we'll take up from where you left off. So please do stay tuned. asking about the Supreme Court reservation of its against the EFCC trying the activity as a lead asking for an interpretation from the Supreme Court. What the Supreme Court that's not to preempt, but waiting for the interpretation. But before the break, when talking the importance of the opinion, say that yes, the EFCC is important. They help fight corruption. So the and the EFCC is below. That is complete. Now, the reason why I asked you all of the questions I asked you when we began the show, talking about the of institutions of government cannot be EFCC is this. They don't have the things that do. And I think all this thing from higher bills to where asking how you must. What do you into that?
Kada, for us to answer that question, I will not say that it had no nexus with the travails of Yahaya Bello, because if you look at these 16 states that initially started, 3 withdrew and 3 others joined today.
Oh, they joined?
Yes, 3 joined, 3 withdrew
from
the hearing, and the applications were granted by the Supreme Court, and 3 other states joined. So it's still the 16 states challenging the legal status of the EFCC to investigate state funds. Now, if you look, EFCC is a creation of an act of the National Assembly. Section 6 and 7, especially Section 6, talks about the scopes and powers of the EFCC. Now, if you juxtapose that with Section 128 of the 1999 Constitution, that is where the argument as to whether or not the EFCC can look into the financial affairs of a state government comes into it. Kalada, for the sake of our discussion, please, I know it will take some 1 or 2 minutes to read. Let's read Section 128. Of the 1999 Constitution. Subject to the provisions of this Constitution, the House of Assembly shall have the power, by resolution published in its journal or in the official gazette of the government of the state, to direct or cause to be directed an inquiry into investigation of A, any matter or thing with respect to which it has powers to legislate upon, B, the conduct of affairs of any person, authority, ministry or government department charged or intended to be charged with the duty of responsibility for C. If you look at B1, executing administering laws enacted by the State Assembly, disbursing or administering monies appropriated or to be appropriated by such.
Did you mention states?
Yes, this is all about the state. And the powers conferred on the House of Assembly under the provisions of this section are exercisable only for the purposes of enacting the House too. So if you, with some other up to D of it, so if you look at Section 108, Section 128 of the Constitution, then you, like I said, you just oppose it to Section 6 that talks about the powers of the EFCC. There is a question that, now that is before the Supreme Court will answer. I know there is this case of one of the learned sick, but that has to do with perversion of justice. So it is not directly related with economic and financial crimes activities. So where the Supreme Court held that the EFCC lacks the powers to dabble into affairs in the nature that the learned sick Nwabiko was charged, that has to do with the perversion of justice. But financially, looking at the financial powers of the EFCC sections and some other related laws as established or enacted.
So basically corruption on a wider level.
Basically corruption, but to the extent that the criminal code is also added. And that expanded the scope. But you cannot exercise these powers beyond that which has been envisaged by the law. So read Section 6 and Section 7 of the EFCC Act. Their powers are somehow 90% limited to economic and financial crime related activities.
Okay, so we'll get to what their powers are, but I'm itching to ask this question. So the National Assembly has made a law that has brought about the EFCC.
Yes.
Right? Signed by a president at the time, Olusegun Obasanjo, and it's now, in full swing, right from 2002. However, the Constitution does say any law done that is contrary to what is in the Constitution should be null and void. So what does the Constitution say? That it is the legislative arm of government that should checkmate the executive arm of government. So does the EFCC yet again have that right, to checkmate a government when it's already stipulated who should be the checkmate?
Kalada, if you understand the principle of checks and balances, either of the arms of government act as a checkmate to the other. The executive, the legislature, and the judiciary act as watchdog against each other. Now, the powers to legislate is vested in the assembly. Now, where their powers is exercised and an institution is created for the purposes of exercising the powers, like a delegation of responsibilities. Now, if that is done, it's still the House of Assembly that still has the power, National Assembly in the circumstance, that still have the powers to look into how to modify those powers. And so we cannot say that the creation of the EFCC or the exercise of the powers to legislate by the National Assembly is in contravention of Section 1, subsection 3 of the 1999 Constitution that talks about inconsistency.
Can I come in now, please?
Yes.
So, an executive arm of government has immunity, so to say.
The governor and the deputy,
which to an
president,
which to an extent can be said to be the government, right? To an extent, we can argue that.
I will argue to the fact that if you can limit it to the president and the vice, the governor and the deputy, that will be okay, because the executive arm comprises even the police. The executive arm comprises both the ministers at the federal level.
I do agree. But yes. I say to a large extent, it is the governor, the deputy governor, the president.
Yes, let's go with that.
And if that is the case, let's even say that I am a minister for finance, for instance, and the EFCC understands that there has been certain financial malfeasances in my ministry. Even if he grabs me, it still has not solved the problem, because the main boss has got immunity and cannot be touched.
At the period that the main boss is acting, yes, he may not be touched. But financial crimes, in fact, criminal activities, knows no limitation.
Okay.
So once that problem, there is notice the body from investigating the acts while also in power.
But this is almost by ends, because although there is left in my opinion, not proved to see that matter.
The way they you see sometimes EFC that in some cases they said one thing in certain things that
but that's wrong.
If we question some of those things and bring it to the public,
it's not as strong before the legislative arm of government, because if they should start an impeachment process, for instance, they will be able to remove him based on what they term gross misconduct according to the Constitution.
Yes.
So shouldn't we just leave this in the hands of the legislative arm of government? Because one, they would be able to get enough evidence because they are also a part of the government. Two, it will then allow the people to focus on the legislative arm of government to strengthen that institution, because these people are their representatives. I don't know if you agree with that argument.
Kalada, if I will get your question directly, let me answer it this way. Legislative arm of government is not meant for the prosecution of offenses, not to investigate, but they can conduct what they call the hearings that give recommendations.
But what if they impeach the person?
Impeachment of the procedure for the impeachment of the governor or a president is not a criminal proceedings per se.
But it can be used in court eventually. If whatever evidence they find and use to impeach him can be used in court.
If a president is removed on gross misconduct, the definition of what gross misconduct is, in most times they are not criminal in nature.
Okay.
Dereliction of duty is a gross misconduct, and which is not a criminal offense. But when it comes to misappropriation, then we can look on what angle is it coming from to bring in some criminal elements. But still, you cannot use same for the prosecution of that person. It must be an investigation duly conducted by an institution recognized by government.
Interesting.
To have given a prima facie case against the person. So the work of a legislature is distinct from other established bodies saddled with the responsibility of investigation and prosecution.
Let's come to Rivers State now.
Yes.
the case of River State, does it not yet again make for an argument against the EFCC? 2007 up till now, that's how many years? Someone help me with the mathematics. And we've not been able to investigate it, so to say. There have been talks about misappropriation of funds, not just by one, but several of the governors who have ruled River State or who have been in the helm of affairs in River State, if not all of them, right? The last time we saw EFCC make an attempt was during Wike's administration, and the current governor was in the mix, of all of that. Now, the question then is, with that perpetual injunction, don't you think other states will try to attempt to do that? And if they do, it then once again limits the powers, which we still will talk about, of the EFCC.
Canada, for whatever that transpired into the then government of Odili securing that perpetual injunction restraining the EFCC from looking into the books, financial records of River State. Let's leave it to them. But my only query is that why has the EFCC refused to carry on an appeal over that judgment?
I thought we say in law that there's a time duration for an appeal.
To seek the leave of court to appeal that, to bring the application with the cogent reasons why the court should grant you leave to extend time within which you can appeal a particular judgment. The court will do so.
So you're saying the FCC is intentionally not?
I will not say intentionally. I'm questioning why has the EFCC, when they came sometimes in 2022, 23, prior to the general elections, talking about the present governor as to whether or not some monies were withdrawn direct from counter, and he said he acted on the authorities of the superior. Then the question as to the defense of the River State governor, then now Minister of FCC, is that until that order is vacated, the EFCC does not have the powers to look into the financial record of River State. Canada, what is stopping the EFCC from taking steps to see how that order can be lifted? How was that order gotten in the first place? Was the EFCC part of that procedure? Did they even enter a defense in that school, in that proceedings?
Yeah.
Or it was a consent judgment? Those are the questions that we should be interrogating and let EFCC answer. It is the EFCC that will come out clean to say, yes, as at the time when these proceedings were instituted, these were the facts, these were the role we played, and this was what the court found. And having found we are dissatisfied with the judgment of court, these are also the steps that we have taken to vacate that decisions of court. But the EFCC is like looking the other way when the constitutional responsibilities placed on them has been taken away by a court of law. So for how long can we have someone spend the resources, the monies of the state, and no one should ask questions, even the institutions of government that by law have been saddled with the responsibility to do so? EFCC has some explanations to make.
All right. EFCC has some. But by the way, before we go to the full lines, what are these powers that the Constitution or the EFCC Act gives to the EFCC? Because we've seen them act like policemen, we've seen them act like DSS, we've seen them break into people's apartments to say, hey, you are this, you are that. And what are the powers of the EFCC quickly?
Basically, a summary of what Section 6. I've made reference to Section 6 of the EFCC Act and Section 7. Basically, what the EFCC Act talks about is to look into, investigate financial crimes activities and related offenses activities.
To investigate.
Yes, investigate.
Not to arrest. Okay,
if you investigate and there is a need to arrest,
okay,
the arrest comes in. They have the powers to arrest.
Okay.
And upon arrest, and if there is a need to prosecute, they have the powers to also prosecute. So is it written
in that act that they can arrest? That's a good because
yes,
I know
the powers.
They can invite.
They have the powers to arrest.
Okay.
They have powers to arrest and take for further investigation. That's why what is being provided in a radius of 48 hours. then the leave of court is sought for. And that's why you see them go to a magistrate court saying that they detain a particular individual a period of time within which they would have conducted their investigation.
Let's do the phone lines now. Like to get you towards a feeling. Do you think the DC has a question? CFs in the past year, some 200 billion naira have been recovered in 1 year, right from October 2023 up until now, and 3,000 convictions have been made. But the question, the real big question, is how many politicians, how many past governors, and how many past persons in office have been properly prosecuted? Now, because according to that data given by Ujaren, 70% of convictions that they say they got is about cyber crimes. Money's stolen or financial crimes done online.
Just someone has to say Yahoo boys.
I don't want to. I don't want to stereotype. But yes, crime done online, financial crime done online. So the question then is,
there are soft targets.
So really, have they lived up to the expectation for which they were created? Because I do believe that Nigeria could get better if we're able to arrest some of these politicians, if not all of these politicians, misappropriating funds in the country. 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003, 0817-923-0007. Now let's start with messages. This was said, for the fact that EFCC cannot prosecute Yahaya Bello. It's not like they can't. It's been a difficult one. But is it for the fact that they cannot prosecute him alone? I support that EFCC should be scrapped. I listened to the EFCC chairman when he said he will resign if he cannot prosecute Yahaya Bello. I mean, with that one. And this one says, on the issue of EFCC over the years, I think they are only there to work with some top political office holders in our country just to ensure that the opposition parties will not have their way, nothing more. Bakata from Ozwa community. And this one says, good afternoon, Canada. I am Louis in Rupoku. EFCC for the past years in Nigeria have nothing to show or to prove that they are truly fighting corruption with sincerity and purity, except going after operation, I think he meant opposition party and innocent Nigerian youths who do not know anybody in Aso Rock or coming else. JJ from Port Harcourt Township. JJ, welcome.
Good evening, and let me greet you again.
Yeah, welcome. Quickly.
Canada.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask me about the EFCC, I will tell you they did very well under Nuhu Ribado.
Okay.
After that time, till now, is their name. You remember, was that Lamode? You remember Lamode?
Yeah, I do.
Lamode, who was accused by the Senate of stealing over 2 trillion. And Senate President then was Bukola Saraki. Lamode was out there, maybe he was attending to some course and all those. Lamode beat his chest and said, look, by next week I will come to town, and he dared the Senate President to say anything about him. Canada, till today, nobody don't talk about Lamode. Is it Magu? Is it Farida Waziri? None of the leaders or MD or whatever they call them are left without a dent. So instead of them to even catch the thief, it is even the thief now that is catching them and all those put together. I think the solution to this whole thing is that every state should have its own anti-corruption agency that will help to probe the state finances while the EFCC probe the federal finances. Even that one will not work. Calendar, let me ask you. The case of the former Accountant General of the Federation, who they said stole over 100 billion naira. The other time you saw him, he was on Monday, entered somewhere, he was praying the Muslim prayer. And you know what it takes to pray the Muslim prayer at the end of the day. Till today, nobody have had anything. What about the guy that was come from the Niger Republic? What's that, Mala? What's that his name?
Is it the former? The former minister under? Is it minister?
No, not minister. This one is third fund, pension fund.
Okay.
You understand now?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember his name now.
The
Yeah.
guy came, escaped, the person from the Niger Republic brought him back. At the end of the day, where is his case today?
All right, JJ, I've got to
The case
go.
of Yaya Bello, where are the case of Okorocha and they broke into his house
interesting.
and I don't know this for good.
Interesting. JJ, thank you very much. JJ remembers a lot of the activities. Israel from Awuda, welcome, Israel. Let's get talking.
Yeah, good day, my brother.
I greet you. Welcome.
Yeah, this is Comrade Dixon, Israel Igbo from Ahoda West.
All right, welcome, Comrade Dixon, Israel.
My brother, there is a need of having an institution like EFCC and ICPC if they are doing their work diligently. According to my guest in the studio, he has said that they are human beings. Their job is not excellently perfect. And I believe what you say is correct. Because if you can see the way EFCC and ICPC are doing their job is not credible at all. It's not credible. You see, some people whom the government issued a contract, they were unable to complete the contract. And EFCC is aware they cannot go direct to these people and give account of stewardship. Even our leaders, those who are in House of Rep, those who are in House of Senate, those who are a member of House of Assembly, local government chairman and councillors, the local government chairman, so many persons of this local government chairman, they were unable to do tangible things in their local government.
All right.
But EFCC knew quite all right, and they refused to go to them. These people cannot give account of stewardship in their duty. And even some of the people in the House of Assembly, they did nothing.
All right, Israel, I've got to go.
And EFCC cannot go after them. So EFCC have a lot of job to do.
All right, Israel, thank you. I'm sorry, I do have a commercial. When we come back, we'll hear final thoughts of my guest.
Nigeria Info.